Okay. Here we are. We are. Welcome to a beautiful day. Today is April 21st. No, April 14, 2021. We are very glad to be coming your way. This is the Progressive Mind Show. I'm your host, Alinko, and today we are discussing AFCFTA, the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. We will be having three wonderful people who will be helping with this discussion this evening. The issue of global village doing business internationally has always been around us, and this evening we want to look at how it benefits Africa, how the AFCFTA benefits Africa, how it opens the world to Africa economically. And so we would urge you to stay tuned, share the feed if you're on Facebook and on YouTube. We will be taking the Captain Mike segment shortly. Right after that, we will go to our guests to engage you in this very important conversation. Stay tuned, Captain Mike. Great to see you this evening. We know you have a couple of updates for us with regards to health, sports, and weather. Please take it from here.
All right. Well, we'll start out with the weather. Looking at the rest of tonight, gonna have a low in the 30s, around 33 degrees. Just a possibility of rain showers, so keep those umbrellas handy. Not much of a chance, maybe a stray shower here or there. Tomorrow, same thing. High around 50. Friday and then the Saturday, we're looking at just a kind of a chance of shower, mostly cloudy skies, northeast winds, 5 to 10 miles an hour. Not much difference. Sunday, we're looking at mostly cloudy skies, a chance of rain. Gonna get a little warmer on Monday and the Tuesday. We have a cold front moving through into Wednesday, about mid 40s. And our best chance of rain is gonna be Tuesday. Like I said, we're gonna have a slight chance of rain every day this week with mostly cloudy skies, but Tuesday is looking like our best shot, and it'll be cooler that day. So kind of looking at a similar forecast for the remainder of this week. In sports, not much going on. We have the Sox playing Cleveland tonight at 7 p.m. And get into our health and fitness report. Yes, it's that time of year again. We're going to talk about severe weather, specifically tornadoes. And tornadoes can happen any time of the year, any month. Even in the wintertime, we can have outbreaks. And it can be, pay attention, because anytime you have a tornado warning or a watch, take it very seriously. Now, certain things we need to prepare for. Be prepared. Have batteries in your flashlights prepared. Have a emergency kit nearby, and also keep your cell phones charged and make sure you have good reception. Now, as far as what to do if there is a tornado warning in your area, get to safety. What's a safe place? Go to your basement or a cellar. Make sure if you don't have a basement or a cellar, get to an interior room without windows, and make sure you cover up. Get under a sturdy table or workbench, or cover yourself with a mattress or lots of blankets and pillows, just to be safe. Now, if you have a tornado and afterwards, make sure you're able to contact people, your cell phone or via social media, to let everyone know you're okay. So keep a list of numbers of important emergency contacts in case you do have some type of emergency. Also, stay informed of the weather. Make sure you listen to Captain Mike, watch the show weekly, or watch your local news and radio to make sure you know the local weather conditions. Now, also go to cdc.gov or to weather.gov to get some more tips and information on what to do in severe weather, and especially tornadoes, because it's that time. They're coming. Right. All right. And Alinko, going back to you, brother.
My man, thank you so much. As always, you come through with the most updated in these three categories. We are blessed to have you. We look forward to speaking with you and seeing you next week, Wednesday. Be blessed, bro.
Sounds good.
Excellent. So we are back to our guest is this evening, as I stated earlier. Africa has done what it needed to have been done so many years ago. And so this evening we want to look at the AFCFTA, Africa Continental Free Trade Area. And so this evening we have this gentleman who are going to help with the conversation, not gentleman and a lady. Dr. MELIDA is going to be joining us very soon. We have Collins OMOKARO. Anytime I want to say his name, I gotta tread cautiously. Collins is a brother and a friend. He's not a stranger on the show. He's a special assistant to Honorable Minister, Federal Ministry of Industry and Trade and Investment, AFCT, Abuja, Nigeria. Then next to him is Louis AFFUL. AFFUL. He's the Executive Director of Africa, AFFTA Policy Network. AFFTA Policy Network. Dr. MELIDA will be joining us shortly. Gentlemen, you're welcome to this platform, and I want to start with Yao. So Africa Policy Network. Some of us in the diaspora, this is the first time we're hearing of it. Please walk us through some of the things you do, why you were, your goals, your aspirations, and then we can get into the discussions, the meat of this evening discussion. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening to you and to Collins and Dr. MELIDA, and to all viewers and listeners across the globe. Pleasure having me. After Policy Network, let me use what the BBC said, the largest international NGO focused on the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade. I established it based upon the fact that after many consultations with the African Union, after the draft processes of the agreement, I decided to come home and set up a kind of organization that will be there for the people, advocate, sensitize, to support the private sector in understanding and benefiting. And so we focus on research advocacy, and we have subsidiaries like the Women of Africa Network, and the Africa Globalized Investment Forum. So that is what we focus on now.
So you basically like a think tank group, right? Like a global, let's say a continental think tank group for the entire African region.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you so much. Right. Collins, for your ministry, the Federal Ministry for Trade and Investment, the name speaks for itself, but you want to take the opportunity to also educate folks what that ministry entails in its entirety, maybe in a short while, if you can.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity again. So I'll just jump straight to your question. First off is, I work as the special assistant to the Honorable Minister for Industry, Trade and Investment. Nigeria or Africa, some of Africa countries have been really focused mainly on natural wealth as against produced wealth. So Nigeria is not different from that, because we have been driven majorly from a monoproduct economy, which is the crude oil. And then our administration basically looked at that and felt like it is very important that we then begin to lay a huge emphasis on driving non-oil export. So the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment is essentially to help enhance the capacity of the industrial sector, help to facilitate the movement of goods and services, help to facilitate trade, and help to accelerate investment into the Nigerian economy. We have 4 thematic areas that we are driving all of these activities to. First is to implement the the Nigeria Industrial Revolution Plan essentially is to diversify our economy from the crude oil perspective, like I mentioned.
Right.
Two is to help to accelerate investment to our economy, to drive trade, and then support MSME to help us achieve all of those. So I work as a member of the technical team within the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, and helping to deliver all of these initiatives and strategy for the economy.
Okay.
Thank you.
So that sounds like a lot of responsibilities. And so, but previously when we had this, we had conversations on another subject, you were very passionate before this treaty was signed on the 1st of January this year, the AFCFTA. And one of the reasons that you were passionate is probably because of the role you play in the ministry in which you work. Now we have it. Once you, or maybe I'll start with Yao.
Yeah.
For someone who have never heard of the AFCFTA, what is it all about? And I'll have Collins also talk about it. But let me start from you, since you are in the policy, you are a policymaker and you're very, very, very involved in this.
Thank you. If you ask me, in summary, it is an economic integration where African countries have decided to sign an agreement to trade among themselves. Okay. So it is an intra-African trade agreement. And this intra-African trade agreement is focused on liberalizing tariffs, or to the ordinary man on the street, making sure that they do not charge tax on export over 90 categories of products over a period of years. And so 90% of categories of products that have been agreed by these member states are not supposed to be taxed, and therefore it's supposed to be at zero tariff over a period of years. And then 10% have been reserved to be taxed. This 10%, we call it sensitive products. So the sensitive, we have a sensitive, that is sensitive and exclusive. These products, agreement is that we are not going to liberalize, because those are the ones we see them as kind of a hegemony for our economies. And so it is an agreement to boost intra-African trade. It's an agreement to liberalize tariffs over 90% of products over a period of time among member states. That is the core agreement. And the essence is that we are to add value to our raw materials. Instead of exporting it outside Africa, we are supposed to add value chains instead of those times when it's not mostly finished. That is what the agreement sees to, and it has a lot of compasses. With the compasses, what we call the phases of the agreement. The phase one has to do with trading goods, trading services, and then dispute settlements. Then we have the freedom of movement, or the free movement of people. Okay. That was also based upon the ABUJA Treaty in 1992. Then you have phase two, which has to do with investment, competition policy, and intellectual property. But that phase two is ongoing. The agreement, the negotiations are ongoing. It's not yet done. Then phase three has to do with what we call the e-commerce. But the e-commerce, because of COVID, is being fast-tracked along the phase two. So these are phases that when it's ready, you're going to have 3 phases put together and all have protocols within them.
Thank you. Collins, you've been listening keenly, and you want to add your voice to the composition and probably composition and the benefits of AFCFTA.
I think essentially, I will always start from the perspective that AFCFTA is a demand sensitization tool. Why I said that is the market that you're combining, about 1.2 billion consumer base. Right. So I look at it from a value perspective for Africa continent and Africa businesses is a huge opportunity. So that's why I will always call it a market sensitization tool for businesses. But beyond that, from an opportunity perspective, I mean, Riley, he has drilled down a bit into all of the context and the critical protocols various protocols of AFCFTA. But from an opportunity perspective for African businesses, first is export-based diversification. So we know what crude oil prices have done to a lot of African countries that depends heavily on natural wealth, like the crude oil. In the crude prices, and how that then crystallized into affecting the revenue earnings of these countries that essentially 90% of their budget is tied to this natural wealth.
Right.
So AFCFTA created a ready market for countries to then look inward to look at areas of their comparative advantage and then begin to trade those areas of comparative advantage. And that brings the benefit for them in a broader sense. And I'll add again to say that AFCFTA is for me, the core objective or the core purpose where we are integrating is for the prosperity of African citizens. For the fact that a woman sitting somewhere in Ogun State or a little part of your village or your town can benefit from it by amplifying the value of the product or services he or she has created comparative advantage in. And that also comes down to states, that also comes down to federal, and come down to your local government, come down to individuals. So the market is there. It is now meant for you to put in the right quality, the right standards, because the market is created already. Follow through the right agencies within your country, and then get your product out there. I can bet you that a lot of these countries are searching and looking for people that have been doing things the right way in terms of export, in terms of packaging, in terms of quality assurance, in the right way for them to push and promote them.
Right.
This as we have to go on in our conversation.
Yeah. You have, and based off what you do, you work with a lot of data, a lot of information resources, and you do obviously connect with a lot of highly intellectual researchers who I would say have been working on behalf of the African international African economy or the African markets, right? There have been organizations like WAMI. WAMI was supposed to be what? A financial institution that was set up to create a currency for the West African countries. Okay.
West Africa, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So there is also ECOWAS, right? What I'm trying to get to is how have these smaller organizations or institutions that have been set up to move Africa to where we are today, how have they contributed to finally establishing AFCFTA?
The good news is that, in fact, nothing has necessarily changed.
Okay.
With the African Continental Free Trade coming in, whatever we used to do, we're still doing it. The difference with the AFTA is in terms of the tariffs that are going to be taken off. And when the tariffs are taken off, the whole goal is to ensure that, like Colin said, you boost your exports. And by boosting your export, you identify products, you identify markets, and then you do the value addition, so value chain. That is key. And so it builds on your comparative advantage. Nothing has changed because there have been cross-border issues in terms of trade that has existed in almost all the regional blocks.
Right.
What AFTA came to do is to build upon the existing blocks. And if you open the agreement, chapter 1, it says that this is to strengthen the existing regional economic blocks and to build on it. Example, if you take the commercialization of AFTA, for example, it was built upon the ABUJA ECOWAS prototype. If you talk about in terms of customs, it was built upon the East African prototype. Now, ECOWAS will still continue to engage in its economic zone, but AFTA will be more a supra.
Right.
The one you talked about has to do with currency, ECO.
Okay.
That won't change, but let us look at it. All these continental integration is based upon what the African Continental Free Trade is envisaging at what we call the Agenda 2063.
Okay.
In Agenda 2063, African Union will be about 100 years in 2063. And so they are coming out with a lot of blueprint plans where Africa can integrate. And the first one has to do with what we have in the Continental Free Trade, the economic integration. The second phase they want to go into is one single currency. Then they'll go to one passport. Then they'll go to one custom union. So it's following like that. Then they're going to have Africa's aerospace and whatever. So the ECO has to do specifically with ECOWAS. And it was ongoing. In fact, it was supposed to have materialized, I think, 2021. But the problem is that you cannot have one currency when you don't have one central bank. The West Africa doesn't have one central bank. And until recently, you know, West Africa has the Francophone side and then have the Anglophone side. Yeah. And if you take even until recently that most of them pulled away out of the CFA zone, CFA franc zone. Yeah. Until that time, even when you come to even accepting the fact that all of them are ready to go, there are only two major economies in West Africa that are anchoring the currency. That's to do with Ghana and Nigeria. Right. Now, if in COVID times, things have been very difficult for the two countries. And so it has forestalled a bit of the process of that having that single currency in ECO. If we have one African currency, it will have a super effect over the ECO, the regional one. And I think that is what all the regional blocs are doing, to integrate all their various aspects into the continental bigger picture. So when you talk about, if you ask me about these three, this is how it fits into. But AFCFTA is building upon the regional blocs. AFCFTA has certain processes that what they themselves said they have signed to, they are supposed to implement it. And one of the key is freedom, the free movement of people. Because prior to that, your capital is going, but you need to also sometimes follow it with the persons. And therefore, prior to the AFCFTA Continental Free Trade Agreement, within ECOWAS, people can move from one country to another at any time, based upon what we call the ECOWAS card, or based upon the fact that we have the ECOWAS 90 days. You can go and stay in one ECOWAS country for some 90 days. That is the same way that Continental Free Trade has been negotiated, that you should be able to move to Seychelles or Mauritius based upon the agreement and the free movement of people. Right. This is the most difference between the regional play and then the continental play, which we are not fully there yet. But I think it's on a gradual process.
It is on a gradual process. It sounds very good. The vision, the long-term vision of what AFCFTA, the long-term benefit of what AFCFTA is going to bring to the people of Africa. And I think we all wonder why Africans would need a visa and visa to go to another African country. And so we are hoping that this AFCFTA would be the catalyst, or will be the thing that solves this problem of economic integration. Obviously, this is why it was set up. My brother Collins, Yao mentioned something very important. The Nigeria and Ghana seem to be very key players when it comes in the midst of all this conversation. Now, how do you see, apart from these two countries, what other country was, let's say, in the West, East, maybe South, would you say are upcoming economies that would be a major force in the success of AFCFTA? I don't know if Collins can still hear me. Collins, are you here? Okay, looks like we're having a little bit of technical challenge with Collins. But yeah, if you heard a question, can you help respond to it?
Sorry, I think if I can take that question back again.
Yeah. So I was saying that it's obvious that Ghana, and you mentioned it, Ghana and Nigeria, seem to be like key players when it comes to Africa economic development, or let's say sub-Saharan African, right? Sub-Saharan African economic market. Now, in AFCFTA, these two countries are giants and will be playing key roles. What other countries can you, let's say, identify within West, East, and maybe even South, there are upcoming economies that will be major players to influence or help implement some of these policies that AFTA is coming up with?
That is a great question. The Continental Free Trade, because of the tariff liberalization, obviously, most African economies depend upon revenue from taxes. And so for you to say they should liberalize their products, in other words, when goods are coming into their country and it falls within the 90%, it should be free, no tax at the custom, no tax on tariff, or no tax on export. It's going to really drain their revenue. So what happened was that all the economies are not the same. So under the Continental Free Trade, they have been grouped into what we call the group of three. The group of three economies are the developed economies of Africa, the developing economies of Africa, and then the group of six. The developed economies of Africa are the likes of South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, Cote d'Ivoire, and more. And Egypt. All these countries will liberalize over a period of 5 years. In other words, they are not going to immediately take off the tariffs, but it will be progressively after 5 years, they have to immediately do it zero tariff. Now, the developing economies are those that cannot absorb the shock. The economies are not as weightier, like the first group I've mentioned. So that group will also liberalize over a period of 10 years. In other words, also that to support their credit inadequacies based upon the revenue shortfalls. The last group is what we call the group of six. That group is really, really in economic crisis. They are nowhere to liberalize immediately. So they will liberalize over a period of 15 years. However, Afghanistan Bank has been taxed to offer credit lines of about 2 years to some of these group of six countries. So that within 2 years, as they are liberalizing the economies and they are not having their revenue expectations, the bank will support them in terms of filling that gap. And so in terms of AFTA, they have been grouped into these economies and they are all playing according to that. But in terms of the trade, the rules of origin is what is going to be used, and it's going to be a fair grounds for everybody.
Oh, no, thank you. Thanks for breaking that up, because it's very important for people who don't understand the dynamics of the African market, you know, to have a clue or have an insight as to how these things are going to play out. I mean, in Europe, in the US, all the states, countries are developed, and so, and even with I'll say Europe, they're still having issues, right? There's the Brexit, you know, there is the Greek problems that's wrecking the boat of the of EU, and so there are bound to be challenges. Collins, what do you see? What do you foresee? I think your phone, I mean, your internet went off for a little bit, and so we lost you. I don't know if you heard the question that I posed, even though the network wasn't working. If you didn't hear it, what I was asking is how, if we can identify other African countries that will be key players, you know, after apart from Ghana and Nigeria in the success of AFTA. And I don't know if you want to respond to that, or you may want to just, you know, because he already mentioned a couple of things. I don't know if you want to add your voice to what he already said.
Thank you so much. I think that question is very, very strategic and important. And you has actually dealt with that extensively. But one thing I would like to add is one of the what I'll call the passports of AFCFTA. What essentially would drive the prosperity for participating countries within the continent is the rules of origin. The rules of origin, as is where, is expected to create more value, more African jobs by enhancing African businesses accessing African markets. So why I wanted to break it down to this angle is the fact that whether you are playing within the big boys within Africa, or you are among the developing or emerging within same Africa, based on the various baskets, it then depends on what sort of processing capacity or value chain you have created for your businesses, or you're created for your country, or created for the products you intend to trade with across Africa. So rules of origin, why I said is a passport is because it is very critical to ensure that what you allow without tariffs into your environment, into your country, are truly a product of a complying country within the ASCFTA. So what that means is that, and because it is a passport, it applies to all goods, regardless of whether it's preferential or not. So what it then means is that issues of dumping, issues of then importing products from other countries and then re-exporting it to other African countries are addressed with the rules of origin. So for countries that then take it serious to know the benefit of AFCFTA and want to drive it significantly, they will definitely enjoy the value that this brings. So that's why I said initially that AFCFTA is a demand sensitizing tool. But however, the reason why country A or country B signed into agreement is also because that I believe that the other country will be my own brother's keeper. So essentially, if issues of illicit trade practices are happening within your country, it is expected that you are my brother's keeper, you'll be able to report that, and so that we can address it, so that even the issue of rules of origin, which is meant to create the prosperity, will then will then create that value that we desire for all African countries that are participating in this, that decide to liberalize trade across the environment.
That word you use, demand sensitizing tool, we understand that for someone who works with the Ministry of Trade and Investment, federal level in Nigeria, will be a common word. You understand it. But for some folks who are around, may need a little bit of breakdown. In a layman's term, what exactly is that?
Okay, essentially, Nigerian population is estimated over 200 million.
Okay.
All right. So this market is about 1.2 billion consumer base.
Right.
So what it means is that if you are buying,
which is the African continent, the African market.
African continent. So you used to say to, if I am into manufacturing of processing of cocoa bean, for example, to chocolate, and I used to sell to only certain companies or certain malls within Nigeria environment, or some select African countries within ECOWAS.
Right.
Nigeria was one of the biggest, and Nigeria was one of the controlling country within ECOWAS, right, which is just about 15 countries. Mm-hmm. Now you are selling to 54 countries.
Got it.
So what it means is that's why I said it's a demand sensitizing tool. So right, it gives you a larger market to sell to.
Okay.
At a very, very competitive and interesting benefit that you derive from that.
That is
with
what
a lot of support coming.
The last sentence is what I wanted you to get out for some of our viewers, right? That yes, it's in a simpler term, AFCFTA gives African countries the opportunity to sell to a larger market rather than
a larger market. Yeah.
Exactly. Before when there were restrictions, but you would also wonder, were there necessary restrictions? Were there any restrictions that was placed on some African countries preventing them from doing business with others in the past? I mean, prior to AFCFTA, were there anything like that? Whether it was imposed by UN or the French or anything of the sort? Yeah, you have been in this field working for a long time. Did African countries had these type of problems? Legal issues preventing them from trading with each other?
Let me come back a bit from where Colin stopped. The rules of origin is the key to really deciding which goods are originating from Africa.
Okay.
And the rules of origin will actually confer the originating status of the products. Be it as it is, people can be funny. they can decide to import goods, repackage it, and then call it made in Africa.
Right.
So the rules of origin have been divided into 3 categories. Wholly made is acceptable, partially made is acceptable, and then value additions. The rules of origin at this stage is about 81% ready. The reason being that the other about 18%, which is not ready, is because of the value addition issues. The rules of origin and AFCFTA is saying that we will allow you to import input for your manufacturing products and add your ex-factory prices up to about 61%, and then you can export among your member countries. You cannot go beyond 60 to 61%, so that you have the ability to import, let's say, certain other raw materials from outside Africa and then add it. For example, if you buy X from, let's say, Brazil, and then you come and you decide to sell the chicken, it should be accepted because it is homegrown. It was reared on your soil. Now, the rules of origin is important because apart from that one, like you said, everybody, we were trading before and everybody was trading, but the problem is that the intra-African trade was low. In fact, among all the free trade areas in the world, Africa was having about 16% among them in terms of trade. And the funny thing is that you could have Kenya and let's say Rwanda. Kenya could do a lot of business outside Africa with the United States, close about $500 million. And then just within its own economic zone with Rwanda, you will just have less than even $100,000. That is what AFCFTA is seeking to solve. Let's boost intra-African trade. And so there were no restrictions necessarily, but we're not trading among ourselves. We were not adopting what we call the seriousness of import substitutions. For example, I know the Ghana imports about 1 million tons of wheat, let's say from outside Africa, whereas Nigeria can supply that 1 million without we going to Iran. The same way Nigeria needs a lot of salt. Is Nigeria depending on Ghana for that salt? What the AFCFTA is seeking to do is that these two countries should look at their import substitution balances and trade among themselves. For example, if you take Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, we are producing the largest cocoa beans to the world. However, the revenue from chocolate, we have the two countries combined are far known here. It's Netherlands. So why should it be so? This is so there was no restriction per se, but we're not trading among ourselves. And again, finally, it was difficult trading outside because there were a lot of tariff barriers. Sometimes we are given certain quotas, and therefore most African products will go and then you'll be given a slap that, oh, the quality issues. And that was a problem.
And maybe currency valuation problem issues too.
You know, those ones are macro issues that you surely expect. Once you are not adding value, tech value to your product, you're not going to get a good price for your product. But I'm looking at, apart from that one, there were other barriers that were due to, we call it technical barriers. Some could be certification, some could be product approval. And we're just used to just make sure that they kicked us out. Sometimes you see it, so bananas coming from so countries, not good, we'll not accept it again. Africa now, thank God, under Afcfta Bank is building a very, I don't know to the extent, but they're about 80% complete. They are building an African standardization quality assurance center where products that are coming from Africa could be tested and certified, and then will be sold among ourselves. So it means that if we're unable to export outside Africa because we were slapped with quality assurance issues, though the center that is being built will go under ISO standards, you will have the access to export among yourself, because sometimes some of these slaps are necessarily just a technical barrier. So we were trading among us. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thanks for giving us. Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to also add to that. I mean, thank you so much, Yo, for that. Yeah, I mean, from the context of what I wanted to come from is, if you look at cocoa, for example, today the largest producer of cocoa in Africa, literally, or chocolate in Africa, not even cocoa now, chocolate in Africa.
Okay, so we're having a bit of technical issue with my brother Collins, but he was going to make a very important point. Collins, I think
are you with me? Are you hearing me?
we lost you for a
Yeah,
second.
I'm back.
But yeah, go ahead.
Yes. I said most of the cocoa that goes into the chocolate comes from Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana.
Right.
But yet, 95% of the cocoa paste used in making those chocolates in Egypt and South Africa are imported from Belgium and Switzerland.
Mm-hmm.
So what that means is that cocoa beans from West Africa is exported to Europe, turned into paste, re-exported to Africa before they are utilized to make chocolate. Meanwhile, actually, the process of turning cocoa beans into paste is very basic. So what ASCFTA is trying to achieve is that creation of value chain, enhancing the value chain, addressing those issues why we cannot source from that country that is focused on producing and then using it also for the area of processing it. So we're trying to look for how we can create that market where we can then encourage it. So that's what rules of origin is also meant to further address, because the demands are there. So that is one thing that's going to drive the prosperity of Africa. That's what will enable us create that competition, and that's what will enable us conquer that demand that we're looking for in terms of relevance for Africa continent.
Thanks for breaking it down. Yeah, it's been I don't know how many years, but in 1963 is when Dr. Kwame Nkrumah was advocating for something like this. Why do you think it's taking us so long? It's taking Africa forever. Finally, we are getting it right. But what was the reason? What was the reason for the gap, the huge gap?
I think that none of the countries at the time were willing to let go a piece of their flesh. No one was willing to allow to just cut off a bit of their sovereignty. And that has delayed over all this time, because if this is long overdue, in fact, this is just long overdue. Look, if you take the African mining vision, a sister kind of integration alongside the trade, the Continental Free Trade, there is another African Union or African mining vision where they want to integrate the mining sector, the natural resources. Look, it is 10 years now. Mm-hmm. It has still not been adopted.
Right.
10 good years now. Why? Because sometimes nobody wants to really let go a bit of its sovereignty. Why? Because of either certain lack of the political will. Because if you really look at the technical issues on the ground, there should be nothing barren. Again, I'm talking about political will, because as we are speaking, Algeria and Morocco, their borders are closed. Why? How are they going to even trade, let alone integrate another bigger? The borders are closed for a very long time now. Yet, in terms of the dues and contributions to the African Union development, the Arab Maghreb Union, where Algeria and Morocco fall in, contribute. They are about one of the first 6 heaviest contributors to the dues of African Union. Yet there is political issue where their borders are closed. So these have delayed some of the integration, Pan-African integration processes, because nobody at one point in time, due to lack of political will, then again, no one is ready to relinquish certain sovereignty. Remember even Nigeria and Ghana in 1983.
Yeah.
If Collins will remember, the famous 183, Ghana must go and all those things. We were, repatriating each other here and there. These are things that accumulated over a very long period of time. In terms of immigration, let's just not go far. Let's look at immigration. In those times, it was difficult to go to Seychelles. You have to go through African Union. But with the Continental Free Trading coming, Seychelles has waived off most of its visas and opened up to a lot of African countries. So these are some of the reasons why the Pan-African dream have delayed over this long period of time.
Thank you so much for a great breakdown of our conversation this evening. You have been listening to the Progressive Mind Show. We're talking AFTA. AFTA is Africa Continental Free Trade Area, and we are looking into how it's going to benefit Africa. This is what I think Africa has been waiting for a long time. It is finally here. We yet to see its benefits. It's realizing that its objectives, and I think that it will take Africans to make AFTA a success. And so, thank you all for joining us so far. I see Ajwa Stevens here. Ajwa Stevens, thank you so much for joining the feed. Boate Ashia is also here. CQ Berry, Nancy Ellis, John. I'm going to read your comment in a little bit. Mr. Candyman, Mr. Candy Gun is also watching us. Laura Miller, Erica is also here. Thank you all for joining us. We just got our third guest, Dr. Harris, Dr. MELIDA Harris Barrow, who is the founder and chairman of 6th Region Global Chamber of Commerce. She had other events to attend to. Of course, I think she has to celebrate her mother's birthday. Happy birthday!
Yes.
Happy birthday to your beautiful mother, Dr. Barrow. And you're welcome to the show again, a regular guest on this platform. So we've been talking about AFTA, its inception, and we'll also want to go a deep dive into its inception and some of the setup of AFTA, and we'll look at some of the things. But Dr. Barrow, your view on AFTA, I mean, you just joined up, but your view on AFTA so far, and then we can, bring you to speed on what we have been talking about. But your general view on AFTA.
Well, I think AFTA is one of the greatest thing that could happen to Africa. Meaning that in order for us to trade with each other, I think that's one of the best things ever. One of the things also, though, I am thinking is the fact that you can work together, you can trade together, but you still need your brothers and your sisters in the diaspora to make it work. And I'll tell you why really quick, because we have what you need. You have what we need. So without the your brothers and sisters in the African diaspora, and when I say African diaspora, most of the time Africans will focus on Africans that have left Africa to abroad. I mean also Africans that was taken from Africa and were taken as slaves. I am including them as well. Our ancestors, my ancestors, were taken from Africa in order to be slaves. So when we unite as one, when I say unite as one, I am talking about my African brothers and sisters in Africa that have left Africa in order for us now to start to do business with each other abroad.
Right.
So that is something that I am pushing. That's why I started the 6th Region Global Chamber of Commerce. That will be the bridge and the platform in order for us to do that.
Thank you. My brother John also chimed in. He says, I greet you all, my people. Glad to be back. Thanks for holding up, Senna. John, thanks for joining the program. I know you have been busy. Soon we shall talk and get the program ongoing. Brother John will be joining us. Will be helping with co-hosting of the Progressive Mind Show. John, thanks for your comment. Dr. Wale says, great program. Thanks, Dr. Alinko Dangote. Loving it. He's the publisher of Africa USA Today magazine, International Chicago. Dr. Wale, I know you are doing an event which is upcoming soon. If you want to share that information with us so we can let our audience know as well. Please share the feed if you're watching us on Facebook so we can all learn and get ourselves abreast with AFTA and what it's going to do for Africa and how it's going to change the global village. We have been a global village for a long time now, but have we been partakers of the village economically? I'm talking about Africans. And so now that AFTA is here, how is that whole game going to change? How is it going to affect the global village? And so this topic is very crucial. I want to ask a general question here. How does AFTA change the game for the French, who have for a long time been very influential in West Africa, especially the Francophone speaking countries? I mean, there's Cote d'Ivoire, there is Togo, especially, and Benin. Dr. Yao, do you know how this changes the dynamics when it comes to the relationship with the Francophone speaking countries and France?
Is that my question?
Yeah, that's your question, please.
Okay, Mr. Yao, sorry.
No, it's Mr. Yao. Okay, sorry. I pose these questions to you because you own a think tank group, and of course have done all the researches and still do research on these things, and so that's why I come to you with some of these technical questions. And I know that you have a lot of experience in this field, so please help us, and the other guests can also chime in as well.
Well, I think that when it comes to, let me greet Dr. MELIDA. It's been a while. Thanks for joining us.
Well, before you continue, she's brimming with a lot of laughter because she has just been with her mom celebrating her birthday. Dr. MELIDA, tell us how grandma's birthday went. How old is she? If you don't want to share the age, that's fine. But tell us how the whole thing went. Okay.
Everything went very good. Thank you. Mom is 81 years old, and everyone that asked her how old she was today, and she said she said sweet 16. That's what she said, sweet 16. But and I'm happy that she said that because it tells me that she's feeling good, you know. And but we had a ball. We had a good time today. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes. You're welcome. And again, happy birthday to her. We wish her a long life.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Mr. Yao, please.
Yes, we extend our felicitations to Grandma.
Yeah.
Wish her long life. In terms of under AFTA, it is an African agreement.
Yes.
That is the first step. It is an African agreement. It doesn't know French. It doesn't know Anglophone. And that is where we need to start from. It was ratified, in fact, to become a member of AFTA, or to be recognized as a party state. It does not need the French to influence at all. It has to be signed by the sovereign country. Secondly, the parliaments of all these countries have to sovereignly ratify without the influence of any external force. The third stage is for that sovereign country to submit its letters of ratification to African Union Commission, not the French. So each country in Africa, whether Francophone, all submitted their letters individually to the African Union Commission that we want to become members of AFTA, and that ended it there. However, it was the ECOWAS currency issue that it was said that the French had something to play because most of the CFA was tied to the French treasury for a very long period of time. But you remember that recently, the French decided to let go for most of them to really connect among themselves. That even would take some time. And so these are the two big differences. The currency, rather, they had a lot of influence, but in terms of AFTA, it is purely an African affair. It is purely trading among themselves. And if you want to exit out of the agreement, the last article of the agreement says that after 5 years of inception, if any country want to exit, that is the exit clause. You can exit out of the free trade area without any external influence. This is what it states, as clear as crystal as it is.
This actually becomes a game changer. Collins, how tell us the impact you think that AFTA is going to have on the continent of Africa, especially. I still want to touch on the West African country. I mean, the Francophone speaking countries, because I know they've been. We all know there's a lot of information out there that speaks to how how France have manipulated some of these Francophone speaking countries. So, in your own opinion, how does AFTA change the game globally, especially when it comes to these countries that have been manipulated over so many years?
That question, I think first, before drilling down to how it then liberates or separates these countries from those Western economies, broad area. First is the size of the market. Secondly is the supply chain infrastructure. And thirdly is the job opportunity that it creates. I think majorly, this is what drives the revenue or sustainability of what you push in any economy. And that's what helps you to even sustain the revenue from that shock that typically comes from natural wealth as against this produced wealth that we are focusing on. That's why you see most countries are focused on driving manufacturing seriously, driving quality assurance seriously, driving infrastructural logistics seriously, because they want to be competitive. So from the size of the market, let me use Nigeria as a case study, and this applies to every other country in Africa. Nigeria has the largest economy and population in terms of population too in Africa, a GDP of more than $500 billion. And of course, the population size over 200 million estimated. And the market size allow manufacturers, obviously, like I said, to increase capacity and expand into Africa countries. This is Nigeria, and this applies to every other Africa countries. And this enables investors too to benefit not only from the market, but also other countries as well within Africa. So to put in context, if you look at Nigeria, for example, 76% of total trade volume in ECOWAS was emanated from Nigeria. But this was made possible by the ECOWAS treaty that we all signed, which then of people and goods through about 15 West Africa countries. But AFCFTA granting access to about 54 countries with a population of 1.2 billion people and a combined GDP of about $2.6 trillion GDP. So from a market size perspective, the value is enormous. So it is only, so also now coming from the Western countries looking at our economies, it is also a value for them. So you see most of them coming out to say, let's have a separate agreement with Africa beyond coming from an EU perspective. So you need to come aside to see how you can then benefit from Africa, because we are then moving from just exporting raw products to processed products. So to a large extent, we may not really need you as much as we used to depend heavily on you. I use cocoa as a case study. You can see how that would, the market size of cocoa or chocolate is massive compared to what you are producing from cocoa or what the revenue you get from cocoa. So on the second angle is the supply chain infrastructure. So producers, exporters, and every other institution, retailers would definitely have opportunity to expand their operation to other markets. And that obviously would depend on distribution network that can effectively deliver the goods to whoever your partners or the other countries that have requested for this.
Okay.
Of course, this will give rise to increased investment in distribution and logistics, right, and the supply chain to ensure infrastructure, obviously, that are needed for transportation of goods and all of those things. When they are available, that then give a win-win for investors in that logistics and transportation space, which obviously are going to be catering for what is needed for the cross-border trade. And obviously, in the general, that will then crystallize to increase jobs across Africa. Okay. And for countries that also have certain comparative advantage in certain areas or sectors, that then, because of the free movement and the liberation of movements of people, you can then begin to switch competencies, hire other competence to help develop your certain sector that you have interest in and you want to build comparative advantage in.
Right.
So I would like to just probably stop on that. maybe on other area of MSMEs or informal trade. That's a huge market that ASCFTA will help to also address, because that's issue. Then aggregating these people together and then coming to from a single person that used to trade, say, $10,000 monthly. So when you aggregate, you are seeing a volume that makes sense, plus the competition and the value and the benefit that then emanate from coming together as a bigger entity. And then that enables you to expand to other African countries and then bring the bigger value for you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for making that perspective very clear. We have 2 questions from the audience. I would like to read it out. But before that, Dr. Barrow, the most Asian continent, it has the most populous youth in the world. How does AFFTA benefit the youth of Africa?
How do we benefit?
How does AFFTA, the African free? Yes. How's that its establishment, its vision, the mission that is the purpose for which is being set up? Again, knowing that we have the most populous youth and we're traveling across the world to seek greener pastures. How does this now Africa Continental Free Trade Area benefits the youth of Africa and also prevents migration to a brain drain to developed countries?
I understand. So that way they don't have to leave their country.
Absolutely.
Right. Honestly, right now, and I'll go into that. Right now, I'm creating, and it will respond to your, it was respond to your question.
Mm-hmm.
Let me turn off the phone. I'm so sorry.
You should have done a long time ago. You should have done.
Yeah, I am creating.
No, I was just joking. I was just saying you should have turned off your phone before coming on the show, Dr. Barrow.
I know. I'm so sorry.
I understand. It's your mom's birthday, so do whatever you want.
No. I love my children in Africa and in the world, and we need to really focus on our children in Africa. Because our children in Africa are very intelligent. They have done so much, even after they leave their country, they come to the United States and in the world and they study. We're not doing a great deal for our children in Africa. One of the things that before we speak about what you ask is that we need to learn to respect and honor our young people in Africa. That is something that we don't do. The second thing is that we do not give our children the opportunity that they deserve to have in their country. The third thing is that with this new entity that we're talking about, we need to have a plan, an action plan, not just saying, okay, I have the AFFTA. No, we need to have an action plan for our children in Africa. This is what I'm already doing. I'm having a campaign. There's a campaign now that is happening for the youth in Africa, in the Caribbean, in Latin America, really in the Americas and the world. We need to bring them in. They're very intelligent. And I've already done that, and we're getting ready to start our campaign very soon. These are the things that is essential. We keep putting our youth aside and we're not bringing them into the plan. The African Union, same thing. They might have an organization for the youth, but what's happening? Everything is being done in Africa. And I'm going to keep bringing this with the diaspora because it's very important. When I speak to a youth or an adult in Africa, when they talk about the Americas, what do they say to me? They say South America. Their focus is Brazil. Their focus is not Peru, Paraguay, Ecuador, Panama, Colombia. Their focus is actually in Brazil. What we need to do is to re-educate our youth to do business within Africa and also outside of Africa. Europeans do business in the world.
Right.
So if we want to help our youth, and what they have to do, it is to bring about a plan of action of what the youths are to do. This cannot work without the youths because we have a large population of youth in Africa. So we have to all sit down and we have to communicate with each other. I am bringing a youth from Jamaica, one from Nigeria, one from Panama, and the United States. What are they going to do? They're going to sit down, they're going to talk. And then we are going to spread the word that these are the things that we need to do: economic development, trade, finance, banking. And guess what? They have the degree, they have the experience, but no one is taking our youth seriously.
Right.
What we are doing, the elders, we are in those positions and believe that we are going to be there until we die. And guess what? That's what's happening.
Let's stay on the youth.
What we need to do is to bring the youth in now.
You
cannot have AFFTA and not have them involved.
That's brilliant. That's very brilliant. Let's stay on the youth for a little while. I'm still interested in knowing the formation of NAFTA, who even actually started it, and how we got here. And maybe Dr. Yao can help us with that.
Yes.
But with the point Dr. Yao, Dr. Barrow just made. So from my knowledge, from my understanding, the stakeholders in AFFTA is the people of Africa. I'll say the youth, politicians, and the business sector. Now, among these stakeholders, Dr. Yao and Collins, would you say, in my opinion, I think the youth forms, or the youth is the most integral part of the stakeholders, and should be at the table. But I don't know. Yeah, what's your opinion on this? I think you're muted. You are muted. That was all right. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
A quick back to what Dr. Barrow was saying. Actually, the essence of AFFTA is not only to trade among ourselves. It's to open the opportunity for us to add value to our finished product so that we can export outside Africa as well.
Okay.
And so under the phase 2 of investment, there will be the opportunity where you see African countries investing in everywhere in the world. That will happen. Again, it's creating employment because we have talked about trading goods, unfortunately because of time, but we have trading services as well. It's part of that. And trading services, the World Bank estimates that in the next, by 2040, it will yield about 50% of GDP, contribute to GDP. In trading services, you're looking at 5 priority areas that have been, it's very important to make this point. 5 priority areas that have been negotiated: communication, professional services or professional institutions like legal, insurance, banking, financials. These have been negotiated. Then you're looking at tourism, you're looking at construction, you're looking at construction, about 5 of them, and then transport. These are part of the Continental Free Trade Agreement. And if you look at the service industry, it's already happening. You have the likes of, in terms of telecom giants like MTN, Glo, and what have you, all penetrating each other's markets, unfortunately because of COVID. Now, it is creating job because it is leading us. You don't necessarily have to go to one country before your product could be consumed. Under the trading services, it could be an app, it could be a tech app, it could be a kind of courier service. These are all factors, and it's part of the chain. And so this is one of the things that AFFTA we are looking at exporting outside Africa as well. But this time, we shouldn't go on finished product. It should go with value addition. Now, coming back to your question, the traditional protocol did not include youth and women, which I think that it was a big blow. But I'm happy that the Secretary General, I personally visited the Secretary General, and he assured us of the fact that he is pushing for a traditional inclusion. When he says traditional inclusion, he's pushing for a protocol on women. And that protocol, because women form about 50 to 55% in the informal sector in all African trade. Therefore, if you exclude them as a protocol, it will be difficult because they involve more in the cross-border trade. And so what is going to happen is that when we have a protocol on women and children go together. The youth, according to the World Bank, forms about more than 50% of the growing force of African population.
Yeah.
Therefore, we need to have a unique policy.
50%.
And that unique policy is factored in trade-in service education. And education within the trade-in services, once you have come, we have what we call knowledge transfer and the AFFTA. And knowledge transfer is going to put this way. If Collins is in Seychelles, or Collins is in Mauritius, and Collins did banking and finance, and he's not getting job in where he is, and Mauritius is about 85% service country. They have advanced in all this area. You don't need to sit in your country, pay the free movement of people. You can go to these countries, the right to residence, the right to establishment, and work there, reducing the unemployment pressure on the country where Collins will be coming from. All these are chains that are important. Again, what AFFTA brings to these youth and to women is what we call the procurement chains. Because of AFFTA, there will be a lot of procurement along the line in the area of health, in the area of, you name it, because you have to purchase one thing or another. It's like assembling aeroplanes in Europe. It's not one country that does the whole complete. You could see maybe the engine being produced in one country, the other is another. That is the procurement chain I'm looking at. And this are joke, and the youth are really taking up that startup. I like one prototype activity in Brazil. It's called the Startup Association, Startup Ecosystem. I define startup not when the idea has been birthed, but once the idea is even at the conceptualized stage, we should be able to help. And this is the problem with most of the youth now. They have the idea, but how to birth it is the problem. And so with the coming of AFFTA, institutions are supposed to support them right from when they make intent to do something, then do the registration of whatever they want to do, have the certification of what they want to do, get the trade finance or whatever they want to do, and then help them market what they want to do, help them to a certain point where they can have consumption for their product. That is when we can say that we are really helping the youth. Okay. Because most of the time it ends at the policy level.
It ends at the policy level. That is very true. I think that the formation of AFFTA itself is very crucial. I just want to know, maybe you all help us understand how it came about. Is it a division of AU? Who controls AFFTA? Who are the people that formulates policy at AFFTA, and how do they work with the other governments in the African continent? Other countries or governments, the
architecture of AFFTA, as I said in the beginning, is 54 African countries. Eritrea have not signed. 54 African countries who have decided to negotiate for this agreement, and so it is under the African Union. Now,
before they came this year, and is this something?
No, it started a long time ago.
That's what I'm trying to say.
It started a long time ago, and various phases. The discussion started.
Is this part of the proposition that in the push that Dr. Kwame Nkrumah?
Exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
So he had been in existence within AU before Organization of African Unity.
Exactly.
So
now it was not even AU; it was OAU.
OAU,
so
right?
It was part of the plans like that, but it really took turns from 2012.
Okay,
right from 2012 down all the lane up. So it took shape. However, like you said, who owns? I just want to tackle that side. It is owned by Africans. The architecture places and the African Union Commission. The African ministers of trade are the supervising leaders. What they do is that they will supervise the plans, the programs of AFFTA Secretariat. The AFFTA Secretariat is the regional office for all the AFFTA activities, and he will play as a referee to ensure that every member have a free flow or fair ground. Now, the Secretary General reports directly to the African Union Commission. In his level, he will be under Secretary a deputy chair of the African, that is his rank.
Okay.
And then he is appointed, it's a political appointment. After 4 years, he has 2 terms. So the secretariat, which is hosted by Ghana, is not for Ghana. It's just for the whole Africa.
Right.
And it's going to rotate per what I'm happy that they're going to have 2 other appointments. That is the deputy secretary general, and the first deputy is going to be a woman.
Okay.
That is what I can assure you. So it's been going. That's the architecture.
Okay.
It is not all my Ghana alone. Yes.
Right. And so leaders are picked through a democratic system. At the AU level, they go and they vote and they decide who becomes the secretary general for AFFTA. Is that how
he went through a lot of interviews?
Okay.
He went through a lot of interviews, but as politics, I don't want to give him venture. Collins will understand. In terms of Ghana is hosting, so obviously you wouldn't have Ghana having its candidate as the secretary general. There will be some back behind the scene. However, the candidate went to interview. When he technically passed all, then he was now officially outdoored at the Heads of State Summit to be accepted.
If you say interviews, like what type of, like, does it sit?
Yeah, they call for candidates.
Of AU Parliament?
No, like I said earlier, the architecture is that there were the African ministers of trade. They are the supervising leaders, and so they open up for applications.
Okay.
So applications, they give criteria for those who qualify. I think most of them were trade negotiators.
Okay.
Most of them were having trade background. So they all applied. And those who applied, they went through series of stages of interviews. Now, once the ministers of trade who form part of the committee approved that this person is the good candidate and he has been accepted, they didn't have the ultimate power. They now have to showcase or adore that person at an extraordinary summit of the heads of state.
Good.
This is the process that it went through.
I wanted to get it broken down like that. Again, we have diverse of audience, and we like to get things down to the basics so that everybody understands the composition, or at least the basics of how AFFTA is supposed to be working. And so thank you so much for breaking it down, literally like that for us. I don't know, Dr. Barrow.
I want to ask a question, actually.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the youths, because the youths are so important in all of this. And I want to ask, for example, okay, all of this is set up. The AFFTA is set up, everything is set up. The young people in Africa are still in dire need of to understand what is going on in the country. There's so many violence going on in Nigeria, in other countries with the youth. I need to understand something that's very important, and I'm sure those of us in the diaspora, the mindset of Africa is in crisis right now. The mindset in the diaspora, we are in crisis right now. We're dealing with ethnicity issues. We don't know who we are. We're still dealing with that colonialized mind. And I think it's very important now that we can talk about all of these great things that are coming, that are here. But guess what? If the mindset is still the same as it was, as it is now, how are we going to do all this?
How are we going to succeed with AFFTA?
How are we going to be successful in what we're doing? This is key for me, because every time I speak to my brothers and sisters in Africa, we're still dealing with that colonialized mind. Same thing here in the diaspora. And that is what's going to prevent us from really working together.
That is a very, very brilliant point. Collins, you're millennial, you're youth, you belong to the youth category. The point that she just made, how crucial is this? And after you, I want to take a few comments, and then I'll have you respond to her.
I think that question she just raised is very, very germane. The success of AFCFTA is heavily hinged on the current youth population, because we are the innovators. We are the one coming up with the solutions that are going to sustain whether from angle of technology or services or products, trade on all of that.
Right.
However, the depth or the level of awareness is still very, very far. So that's why it is now the current leadership, like what you just said, the current leadership across Africa need to create that. That's why the national strategies of AFCFTA is being created across countries in Africa to ensure that you are able to deliver the awareness to the grassroots, to the least person across. So it is about, again, it's about African prosperity. And when you look at the MSME population or the youth population or the informal trade population, you have a huge chunk of that population being within the youth category. So essentially, that awareness is there, and that sensitization cannot only be from a national perspective, it has to be driven down by every stakeholder within the countries in Africa. And that's why from Nigerian perspective, the federal government recognized this heavily, and then he approved a 50 billion naira export expansion facility. A key program within that facility is the youth development program. All right, so essentially to then give that export education, quality training, the practices, the packaging, all of the processes that are required for free, all right, and across several geopolitical locations in Nigeria. That is one. Secondly, it is also very, very important that within even the local governments, the states, institutions, the private institutions, the Chamber of Commerces, those are angles that we're also trying to drive this awareness, because whether we like it or accept it, the youth are creating serious disruptions in Africa in terms of business innovations. And we have seen how even within the tech space, the number of companies that are emanated in the last decade, and how these businesses are no longer Nigeria or Africa-owned businesses. So strategies are around that to make sure we're able to retain, own, and support these businesses. So there are grants, there are facilities that governments are putting in place to ensure that is actually established and delivered to ensure that we're able to retain the quality of value that we are generating in Africa. And that's one of the big impact that will help to sustain the value of AFCFTA.
Yeah, thank you. Before your response to the question previously, I just want to acknowledge folks who have joined us so far. Kwabena Nasa. Hey, Nasa, bro, you got to call me. I've been trying to reach you, man. Omorare Johnny Woods is also here. Salam Wadro. Putus, what's up? Thanks for joining the feed. Elios, Selassie, Elliot, Abekuji. What's up, Selassie? Thanks for joining us. Erica is also here. And I think that we have, so Pearl says, very informative. Thank you so much, Pearl, for joining us. We have Rita, and no, Neka says, I wonder what is being done to prepare Africans for this free movement between regions to combat xenophobia. Great point. Before I continue with the other comments, I would like I keep calling Dr. Yao. So just take it, okay? We'll take a short break. When we come back, Dr. Yao can respond. This is the Progressive Mind Show. My name is SENAALINCO. We shall be right back. Well, that was a short break, right? This is the Progressive Minds. Again, we are live on Facebook and YouTube. Please help share the feed. If you're watching us on Facebook, Selassie, I see you. Putus, I see you. Dewadro, Mr. Candyman, all of you, I see you all. Putus, I want you to share the feed now. Selassie, I also want you to share it. And then John, you watch. John, share the feed. And Ajo, I'm sure you've shared it. Thank you all for being part of the show. The number to ring in if you want to ask a question or share your viewpoint is 815-277-5047. We're talking about AFTA, Africa Continental Free Trade Area, doing business in Africa. The global village is what we're calling it this evening, the global village. Again, if you feel like being part of it, go ahead and give us a ring. The number is on the screen, on the right corner of the screen. You can also call and ask a question or contribute. Let's go to yeah, please. I don't know if you want me to repeat the question.
That's okay. I still have it in mind.
Okay.
The mindset issue is something that has been generational, that needs to change right from the kind of educational systems that we see here in Africa. Sometimes we really have some of the educational systems that sometimes it starts and it doesn't end anywhere. Whereas at a certain point in the educational system outside Africa, by the time someone reaches high school, the person is already on his own. Most of the time, we're not seeing that here. And people will go as far back as the university and be expecting to come out of the university and be looking for a job.
Right.
You know, right at even at the university, they are thinking, when I complete, I'm going to look for a job. That mentality has to be changed, because the university is not for you to finish or whatever training you have for you to look for a job.
Yeah.
It's to you to create one.
There you go.
It's for you to start up something.
Okay.
It's for you to program the system such that you can initiate. For example, let me give an example. Some many years back, when somebody introduced me, I said I should go and look for a job at World Vision at the time. So I asked, what was the background story of World Vision? And I was told that because Africa at the time was poor, and therefore the person felt I need to come and support Africa. Immediately I returned. I never even wanted to go in for the interview. I said, no, that was somebody's vision. His vision, I'm not ready to share that vision. I want to go and start my own. This is the way we need to program our education system as one. And two, we need to have that political will to engage the youth in our decision making right from the scratch. African Union should have had what they call African Youth Union Commission.
That's right.
There you go.
That is not in existence. It's owned by a private person. Because if we do, then at the top, they begin to participate in decision making and it trickles down. But unfortunately, the decisions are taken and it's brought down to them and they can't even fill in.
Right.
That must change.
That
and
must
this
change.
is where we're heading towards.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Really quick, I just want to say this, Alinko. Our universities and our, like from first grade, you know, we are being taught not to be creative, not to be builders. We were taught to go and look for a job. We were taught that. So in their defense, we were taught to, because that's what I was taught in Latin America. All throughout these regions, we were taught to go and beg for a job.
Right.
What we need to do, like Yah is saying, and what I'm saying, is that we need to teach them now in order to go and create one, be builders.
Okay.
But as long as they're into those institutions, they're going to beg for a job. So we have to be responsible in order to teach them not to do that. But
excellent. So we ought to, and I know that there are many organizations that are getting very involved in youth programs, African youth programs, teaching them how to make robots, like teaching them robotics, introducing African youth to STEM, because AI is the future. And great. I wanted to take a few comments from here, from our viewers. So there's one from Dada Ganiyu. He says, where is the office of 6th Region Global Chamber of Commerce? I don't know, Dr. Melida, this is your question.
Yes, we're virtual. We don't have an office due to COVID, but we are virtual because we're global as well.
Okay. Next question is, how does the diaspora want to work with AFCFTA in Africa, since it's African country to African country trade? Since it is Africa country to Africa country, so how does the diaspora fit in?
Oh, we definitely fit in. The reason why we fit in is because of what we just talked about, especially for our youths. What is happening in with AFCFTA? I love the idea of Africans working with each other, but we are also Africans outside of Africa, and we can bring a lot to the continent. For example, right now we're working and coming to Africa in order to teach our African brothers and sisters when it comes to water. We keep importing water when in fact in Colombia, we can bring in a team from the 6th Region Global Chamber of Commerce and begin to teach our brothers about how to create and build the institution for water in their own country.
Right.
So yes, we have a lot to offer, and that's why I am saying we need to connect with each other, and it starts with the mindset first.
It's a mindset.
The mindset.
Is very, very, very important, because we have been plagued with, I don't know if it's a spirit of mediocrity or I don't know, but we Africans, we have suffered from that. And the open-mindedness is something that has eluded us for a long time, probably because of our culture and our traditions. Yes,
no, I don't think. Let me just say this, Alinko. Let's put the culture aside. It has to do with your colonializers. They have separated us. You have been separated in Africa. You were taught different.
Yeah.
Those of us that was taken from Africa for slavery, all throughout the region in the Americas, we were trained different. We were taught about Spain. You were taught about Britain, the Portuguese, the French. All of us was separated due to colonializers. Now, what we have to do now is to come back together. And this is what the 6th Region is about. We need to come back together. We need to communicate, trade with each other. Why are you trading with Europe and not with Latin America? That is because you were not taught to trade with Latin America or the Caribbean. Whomever colonialized you, that is who you do business with. Now it's time for us to change that mentality, because what you're getting from Europe, you can also get from Latin America. You can also get from your brothers and sisters. That's the type of mindset we need to go with.
Yeah.
We can no longer continue to let those manipulate us and don't have any good interest for us. Now is the time for us now to come together. And we can do it, Louis. We can do it, Collins.
Yeah, we can do it.
We can do it. Yeah.
It's interesting that even before Berlin, so after Berlin conference, now we have names. We have Nigeria, we have Togo, we have Ghana, we have all these names, which did not exist before. We were all just one people living on the continent, trading with each other, coexisting. There were no barriers. Then after a while, now we have barriers. I can't even go to Nigeria and do business because of all those roadblocks and because somebody says you can't. So it's taken us a long time, but as a people, we have come this far. Now we have AFCFTA, and we can continue to do. We can continue and even improve on our business dealings with each other. I think that the African Union leadership, or the leadership of the African continent, is at least recognizing the importance of the youth factor here. Because if you look at the Secretary General, Wamkele Mene, he's a young person. I mean, I think he's probably about 40, and so that at least gives me some glimpse of hope. Dr. Ya, what do you think?
Well, I think that you are right. He's in his youthful, and I think that's great. Beyond that, I think that it should trickle through policy implementation. And as I said, our institutions should recognize the abilities and the the talents and the what do you call it, what the youth can do. You see, it's one thing having a policy, another thing implementing, it's another thing having a disjointed institutions. You should have all that in a row, because there are so many good policies by certain countries, but the institutions to implement them are disjointed. Therefore, the youth just keep roaming around, going in circles, going in circles.
Right.
Now, what African Union should do is that if they really take data as important as it is, that the youth is about more than 50% of their population, and they are going to drive innovation, drive technology, then it is imperative. It is imperative for them to make sure that they even have to have an African Youth Day. They even have to have it built in their curriculums. There should be something that integrates the youth. Because if you ask me, in the next 10 years, the youth that we have now, if they don't stay in Africa and they go outside Africa, what is the technical gap that the continent is going to suffer? Right. These are some of the things we have to look at. If you come to Ghana, for example, you take medicine. Until now, there were a lot of exodus of doctors, until they had to find a solution to it. This is the way we should go. We should make sure that institutions, policies align with each other.
Great.
And we should have timelines to those institutional policies that we want to have. It shouldn't be that we just say, 10-year development plan, 5-year development plan. Whatever plan you Kwame Nkrumah had, serious developmental plan, 7-year development plan, it was following. You should have development goals and align the institutions to development goals and get the youth along. This is the way.
Thank you. Hopefully, these leaders, the people that have the platform or that make decisions, the policymaker, decision makers, would work with organizations like yours or institutions like yours, right? Who work with data, who do the research, and then hopefully we can have a successful AFFTA. It could be the road to our Wakanda one day, but we'll see. We'll see how this rolls. We'll take some comments from Facebook, and then we can talk briefly about the challenges. What do we envisage as the challenges of AFFTA, right? But I'd like to take Dr. Wale says in the meeting now, but would update you next program. Okay, so I think he is basically trying to talk about. Okay, so he's also wishing Dr. Barrow's mother happy birthday. Keep the momentum going in African diaspora. That's from Dr. Wale. And then Dr. Portia says, happy birthday to your mom, Dr. Barrow, and hello to Alinko and the great panel. Thank you for keeping the Progressive Mind Show progressive. Such a great show today and so much needed. I hope we are able to finally connect, communicate, and exchange economically. It's been too long. And this is from a diasporan, right? This is from a diasporan who is, paying attention to these. So this is very, very important. And a diasporan, not just African diasporan, this is an African-American, to be specific, okay? Exactly. So it's crucial, the diaspora factor in the success of AFFTA. Neka says, I wonder what. So this would, I think, would be part of the questions. I mean, the challenges that we think. So, do you envisage xenophobia as a main challenge or a very big challenge for the success of AFFTA? But before you respond to that, let me take her other questions and maybe. She says, yes, our ancestors were among progressive and open-minded than we are today. And Obedezer Okra says, slavery is still real in colonization of our conscience. We need to we need to be emancipated ourselves from the mental slavery. So basically, emancipation of our mental slavery is very, very important. And then Arjoa Stevens says, does AFFTA has any policy in place to support women producing goods and services in Africa? I think that y'all made a very important point on this, but y'all, can you respond to this quickly so we can look at challenges, and we can start from xenophobia as one of the potential challenge when it comes to AFFTA?
I mean, everything has been factored in the agreement. First of all, everything has been factored into African trade. Being women or youth, it has been factored in the agreement. No one is supposed to be disenfranchised. However, we are pushing for a traditional protocol on women, and in the future push for the youth. That one, as I said, the process is to get through the Secretary General, get through the heads of states, and that, although it looks far, but it's going to happen. In terms of the xenophobia, there are immigration laws, you know, like I said, it has started, but it's not fully, it's not going to be a day, because countries are now opening up their borders. So, because, like I said, there have been other countries that are at, you know, political issues. If you take Morocco and Algeria, so how would the border be open? It has to go through a lot of political discussions. And so I'm saying that, yes, immigration issues is being, is being made flexible at the moment. I know Kenya, they have gone as far as making citizenship of other African countries who want to come and develop there. I know Seychelles, they have brought their list of countries, they've waived off. Ghana has done same. And so I think that it is pushing for the one African passport, which is supposed to be enforced by 2022.
Oh, wow. How awesome is that? 2022, one Africa passport. Dr. Barrow, I'm sure you'll be the first to get yours.
Number one. Number one.
Collins, do you think that leadership, bad leadership, Africa has a lot of bad leaders, truth be told. One of our main problems, one of the reasons why we have not gotten to where we're supposed to. You think that it poses a major problem to the success of AFFTA?
Yes, I mean, that's why in one of the major challenge is trust in the system of people among basically others. So that's one of the major challenges that we will always talk about, because the truth is, issue of smuggling, issue of dumping, issue of repackaging of produce and then re-exporting across Africa using the ASST platform that has been created is one of the things. I mentioned earlier that the reason why Nigeria or Ghana or Kenya will sign into the agreement is because Ghana believes Nigeria should be his or our brother's keeper. But that word brother's keeper essentially is driven from the leadership, because you must be able to ensure that what you protect your own brother from having all of those issues of dumping or illicit trading. So, and with issue of even then circumventing the protocols of AFCFTA, so engagement across that is very, very critical. I know that leadership across Africa also having those engagement to ensure that we do not then disgrace, let me use that word, disgrace ourselves, because we know that we have leaders that are ready to protect this, as well as leaders that are ready to go the other way. So that's why the rule of origin will stand as the passport to protect and also prevent any of this, but from the trade perspective. But from that collaborations that are required, it is then depends on the type of leaders that we appoint to drive those various institutions. Again, it is almost out of the hands of other African leaders to then protect whatever decision you take at your country. But the AFCFTA Secretariat is also expected to build capacity in that to ensure that rules or countries that are deviating from those agreements are then also taken or engaged to address concerns that are raised by other countries that are participating in it. Because if I have agreed or decided to allow free movement of certain goods into my environment or my country, I also believe that it should be able to protect me as much.
Do you think that, Dr. Barrow, maybe same question, you think that this would be a problem?
Repeat the question again.
I mean, the fact that Africa has shown to have produced a lot of bad leaders, political leaders.
Actually, yes. There's a lot of corruptions that's going on, but not like any other countries. And I'll tell you why. The thing is that from when we look, the thing is this. Africa has a bad propaganda in the world, especially Nigeria. And I'm just being honest. And that's the reality. You have a bad reputation in the world. Everyone in Africa, in Nigeria, are corrupt. These are the things that they're saying outside of your country. They're corrupt. They steal. Anything that's negative, it's Nigeria. The funny thing is that this is happening all over the world, but we pinpoint Nigeria. And then these are the things that we have to change, because Europeans have always looked in our countries and tell us how corrupt we are and not looking at themselves, especially for what they have done in Africa and in the world. But the thing is that we can change that. We can change a lot of things. The thing is that if we keep also adding to the problem that they are saying that we're doing, then that's a problem. And this is why I go back and I say it's the mindset. And we have to understand what Europeans are doing. They have us fighting with each other. Okay? They are destroying us by these different types of propaganda. We have to be mindful of what they're doing to us. If we are not mindful for what they're doing to us, we're going to continue to do what we're doing. And that has to change. I am just tired of the people in the diaspora saying, I want to do business in Nigeria. I want to do business in Ghana, but I don't know where to go, who to talk to. There is no structure. We have to create a structure. We have to, and this is why, again, I'm going to go back. This is why I built the 6th Region Global Chamber of Commerce, to build that bridge. Example, if I need to know anything about policies and so forth, I'm going to YA. If anyone in my region want that type of information, I'm going to someone that I know that's honest, that person that has created something. I'm not just going to go to anyone. The problem, YA, and the problem, Collins and Alinco, is this. We don't know who to talk to. We don't know where to go, because there's not that structure that we have. Guess who have structure? China. Guess who have structure? Europe. Why? They can just go on the computer and find out all what they want to do and trade. This is what the diaspora is doing. When it's time to come to Africa, they cannot do that because of the propaganda and what they're listening to. So that's something else. If we're going to talk about AFFTA, these are the things that we also need to clear up.
Yeah. Dr. Yao, your response to the same leadership problem and some of the roadblocks, having done a lot of research and being in this area, what are some of the very pertinent problems that you envisage, including the leadership issue?
I join my point with Collins and Dr. Barrow. And I want to say that, or let me just describe my point from the book from Ngugi wa Thiong'o, The Petals of Blood. From The Petals of Blood, he was looking at why the colonial era played us so bad, and our activities when supporting the colonial activities whilst we have gained independence, from The Petals of Blood. And the lesson I'm learning is that we produce the leaders, the corrupt leaders, or some of the corrupt leaders. The people are part of the play. Okay. Sometimes you know that you are electing a leader to a position to serve you, and then you decide to go to the leader, pack all your burden and problems to the leader to solve it for you, when you know the leader cannot dish out his hand into the state coffers to help you. So the leaders are also produced by the people. And then when the institutions are not working, I call something legacy or legitimacy. Legitimacy is where, for instance, when I'm driving and I reach a roundabout and there are cars there, I came first or I came second, I need to wait and allow the car that I came to meet to go. People are not being governed with force, but there is a legitimacy based upon institutions that are working. Like Dr. Melida said, I don't need to see anybody when the institutions are working. I know when I want to set up a business in Ghana or Nigeria, I go to the registrar general within 3 days or 5 days. My documents are done for me. I don't need to see any middleman.
That's right.
We don't produce, let the institutions work. Again, there should be legitimacy. Legitimacy is the culture of the people who have accepted that this is moral grounds where we won't allow certain things to set in. Let us drag leadership through the media. In other words, whatever leadership is doing, the media should talk about it. Let us drag leadership through the churches.
Right.
We go to church, we talk about, let us drag leadership through Islam. Let us drag leadership through all the circles so that they can see themselves in the mirror. So that when you are pinpointing your hand from far away outside Africa, everybody will know that it's just a conspiracy theory. Until that, we are the ones that are producing these kind of leaders. And I pray that our youth will not learn, because they will see that this is an era that has passed. We are in an era where people are looking at pragmatic solutions. People are looking at what they call it, legitimacy, where you don't need to influence your way through, but the system is really working. When example, finally, in Ghana, in those days, when you want to go to the United States, you have to go through a whole lot of troubles going to the embassy.
And make a long line
for visa interviews. These days it's not there. That you just apply, it goes through a matter of computerization system. You'll be told come for this date, and that is it. That is the way we should let our institutions function.
Digitizing the system. I mean, when I left Ghana 2007, there was no addresses and on all of that. What? 10 years down the line, or maybe, we have now there is Uber. Now you can just put in your address and it takes you their street addresses. GPS is working perfectly. So digitization of the system is very, very important. Collins, Dr. Maro made a very interesting point when it comes to corruption in Africa, and mentioned Nigeria. You are from Nigeria, and you represent a very high level of I'll say authority in Nigeria. Can you speak to that? I just wanted to add your voice to that comment that she made.
I mean, rightly what she said is facts, figures, numbers have confirmed some of the things that she has said. But however, as much as you see all of this heavily amplified, I also speak to the fact that there are certain institutions that obviously have also proved a bit different. Again, they also speak again to the issue of awareness or perception that we build. Regardless of how much we amplify, or the of other some news channels amplify the negativity that countries or in Africa have displayed, especially like you mentioned, Nigeria. There are a whole bunch of other progress that have been made that most times could actually help to even give a better perception of what we are doing. So again, I always also support what yours said, that we need to amplify that country perception in the areas that we are doing to make progress. Corruption is deep-rooted in our systems, it's not just Nigeria. But sometimes it becomes heavily amplified when you don't even talk about the positive that you're achieving. So speaking to some of the things you mentioned around processes and how to come into your environment or countries, I know that, for example, for the Nigeria Investment Promotion Council, I mean, that's one of the agencies that when you talk about leadership and the driver of that agency, a lot is being done to create that enabling environment for businesses to come in, and even the approach that you come in. So, and if you go to the website, I would say Nigeria Investment Promotion Council or Nigeria Export Promotion Council, these are agencies within my own ministry that I can speak 100% to say the processes when you call, all of the things you need, I don't think you actually need to go through anybody to get things done. This is an agency I can beat my chest to say, if you call today and you have issues, I think it is almost impossible for that to happen because of the leadership and the people driving the system. And that culture gradually will permeate through all of the systems. Again, we talked about the issue of education. That needs to continue. We need to speak positive. We need to create that brand perception that then amplifies all of the positive that you are doing over the negative, which around corruption and infrastructural inadequacies that we have in our environment. This is very, very important because this is what will sustain ASCFTA implementation. This is what will sustain all of the issues around adding value to the produce that we make. This is what will sustain the investment that we need to develop the sectors. This is what will sustain the revenue that we need to then stop asking for loans or creating a more debt profile for our country.
Right.
That's what I would like to touch on that, basically. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let me just wrap a bit up with what Colin said.
Okay.
One of the ways that we can have the bad perception that has been ongoing in Africa is for the outsiders to see our laws biting. For instance, if our laws are biting, we should get to the point where someone will come to Nigeria and do something and be jailed, and for it to be published that the person has been jailed. Because I know if I go to the United States or I go to UK to do this offense, I will not go scot-free or be jailed. The perception start building from there that, hey, that is a law-abiding country. It shouldn't be that he will come to Ghana or Nigeria to do the same crime, and then by the time we realize he's left off the hook. We should start letting the laws bite and let us publish that part of the whole framework. These are very, very important issues. That is what they use to measure. Oh, I can go to Africa and do anything. I can go and do everything. We should let CFTA also operate such that in terms of border trade facilitation, when I'm going through the borders of Nigeria, whatever is done there should be the same done at Ghana. Whoever does anything negative at the borders of Nigeria should be jailed. The same person should be jailed in Ghana. When we do that and we have third parties coming through the agreement at the free trade area, they know that when I go to Kenya, I can't do it. When I go to Ghana, I can't do it. When I go to Ethiopia, I can't do it because they are united in terms of their laws by biting.
Exactly. Wow, it's 8 p.m. exactly. But you know what? This is our own platform, so we have the liberty to be flexible, okay, and still some small time. My follow-up question, Doctor, and if you can make it quick because we are already here. The fundamentals of any market is currency. Africa does not have one currency, several of them. How crucial is currency going to play in the success of AFFTA? You mentioned Afreximbank.
Afreximbank.
Yeah. What is again? If you can put all of this together for us.
Afreximbank is an export and import financing bank that I think the heads of states have taxed. I think it's based in Nigeria. Have taxed to support the activities of AFFTA implementation among the member states. Now, in terms of one African currency, it will take some time. Like I said, currency is based upon the economies of the member states. And therefore, you know that you have to get countries that economy are going to anchor. When they say they are anchoring, they are going to be like the guarantee for the currency. And so if you don't have too many economies doing well, it means they cannot guarantee the strength of the currency. And so at this point, before the currency also comes, they need to have one central bank. It is positive because once we've been able to have the continental free trade because we built it upon the regional existing blocks, now we are having one custom management. So I know the next one, now that ECO, the dominant part of Francophone currencies were in West Africa, that has been phased out a bit. That is not going to be an issue. What we need to do now through AFFTA is to manufacture quality products. And when we do, get good price for it. And then the economy will be good. And then once it's done, we cannot begin to anchor for the currencies. But then for now, what is happening now is the payment system has been won. We call it the Pan-African Payment System, the PayPass, which was developed by the Afreximbank and African Union, whereby I can be in Nigeria and transfer money within the Nigerian currency to a supplier in Ghana without necessarily have to go through the bank difficulty. That is one way that we want to go.
I think that is the problem solver. Okay. What's the name of the PayPass?
Yeah.
PayPass.
Okay. Yeah, that's an initiative in Nigeria. So Collins, you want to take maybe 30 seconds to speak on that? The currency issue and the PayPass and Afrizim Bank?
I mean, Afrexim Bank, like you rightly said, Afrexim Bank is located in Egypt and, of course, has locations across Africa. Essentially, a major driver and promoter of AFCFTA to ensure that in terms of the operationalization, they are really, really heavy support beyond payments, issue of compliance, issue of risk management, issue of control, issue of credit rating across trading partners. Okay. They're also creating a platform where you can see all of those and you're able to know who you are trading with and who you are making those payments with. Okay. So that implementation, of course, will be done across African countries, across participating members, which, of course, is then funded by Afrexim Bank.
Okay. If you just joined us, we have been discussing AFFTA, Africa Continental Free Trade Area, doing business in Africa. We purposely called it the Global Village because that is what we have been for a long time. But I think Africa was excluded in that global village. We basically were not trading among ourselves as compared to other continents. And so we are part of the game now. I think we have come to the point where we are in the team. We are going to be team players, and Africa can benefit from Africa when it comes to economic trade and all of that. And we have been helped on this show by Yao Akon, who is the executive director for Africa Policy.
Yao AFFUL.
Yeah. Sorry, the Akon is confusing me. So Yao Akon AFFUL, is that correct?
Yao AFFUL. The Akon was a Google mistake. It's a Google address.
Okay, so Yao AFFUL. Okay.
Yes.
Yao AFFUL, the executive director for Policy Network, right?
AFFTA Policy Network.
AFFTA Policy, absolutely. AFFTA Policy Network. AFFTA stands for Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Dr. Barrow is the founder and chairman of the 6th Region Global Chamber of Commerce. Collins OMOKARO works with the Nigeria Federal Trade for Investment and Industry, if I'm correct. He's a special assistant to the Minister of Minister for Investment, Trade, and Industry. So we would want to thank all our audience. We have come to the conclusion of this evening discussion. We can't completely go away without taking the last comments from our guests. And so we'll start with the person who came last, who happens to be the only lady on the show. So
I am being penalized, and I know it.
You know how we go, Dr. Barrow.
Pick on the woman. Pick on the woman.
No, I'm not. You know, it's just because we're cool. I'm not. This is not picking. It's because we're cool. Don't put me in trouble, Dr. Portia is listening to us. So
that's right. That's my girl.
But so give us your last words, and then Collins can take his turn, and then Yao AFFUL can also do that if you don't mind.
Sure. What I would like to say is I think it's time now for all of us, and this was a great discussion, but I think all of us now need to talk. I know I need to come back to Louis. I have not forsaken you, but we need to really come back. I've been very busy with the project with the 6th Region, but we need to form that alliance that we spoke about. And I think it's time for us now to realize that Africa is not alone. You're not alone. You have your brothers and sisters in the Americas, in the Caribbean, and the world. And I think it's time enough for us to come together, to sit down, to talk, and to build Africa and build the regions where we're in. If we don't do that, we're going to go to another 400 plus years in the same condition that we have been in.
Wow.
We are all working together, and I believe we have to go further. But one of the most important thing, and I'm going to close with this, is the mindset. We have to change the mindset. And I think once we begin to communicate and learn from each other, we are going to, Africa especially, is going to be one of the continents that is going to flourish. It's going to flourish. And this is why we're constantly being attacked, because they know it. They know what we have. They know who we are. It's time enough now for us to know who we are.
Dr. Barrow keeps saying they. I don't know who that they are.
Europeans, those that oppress you.
No, we know.
Colonizers, enslavers. I mean, God, that's who I'm talking about. And I'm sorry, I should say that instead of they. But
no, Dr. Barrow, that was just me.
I know
again,
you,
deciding to pick
I know
on
my
you
brother Yah and
because
Collins know what I'm talking about.
I just enjoy picking on you.
Know what I'm talking about.
Because no, Dr. Barrow and I work a lot together. We have a good working relationship, and so we talk on these things. It's very dear to our heart. Africa is very dear to her. She is from Panama, lives in the United States. But anytime anybody speaks to me about Dr. Barrow or wants to do business with her or anything, I said, that woman, she's more African than some of us Africans. Even though she doesn't live on the continent, she's a global citizen and an African at the heart. And so, Dr. Barrow, thank you so much for your last words. Collins, before you give us your comment, there was one on here for you. It says, great point of corrections, Collins. OMOKARO, we must balance the values inflicted on any nation. Nigeria should not be stigmatized as #worse. All right, Collins, please go ahead with your last comments.
All right, thank you so much. And I'm glad to be here. I would say that indeed Africa is undergoing disruptive innovation through ASCFTA. And I mean, there's no better time for business leaders, for partners, for strategic relationship and visionaries to be fully equipped to navigate the African new and innovative landscape. And for me, like if there's anything that has been demonstrated in case of those that has adopted regional integration, especially to industrialize, is that industrialization doesn't happen accidentally. There must be purposeful action, basically, to then connect or align our policies, especially industrial policies, labor policies, and macroeconomic policies, basically, with investment promotion policies and trade taxation policies. And this is, for me, this is the only way we can achieve competitive production in Africa. This is the only way we can conquer African markets. And of course, this is the only way we can start being relevant at the global market. And final note for me is that made in Africa basically can only drive Africa prosperity if we demonstrate that African products and services have preference in African markets. I mean, this is so important, of course, and this also then drives even from the implementation of various strategies that are then created across members within the Afcfta, and also helping to then drive that broader skipper that we are all preaching. Right. Thank you. That's all I'd like to say.
Thank you so much. And Collins has been here in the States. He's done business here. We met at an international expo. Even though he works, with the government, he also does business. And he actually, I think the attire he has on was made by him, right, my brother? If I'm not mistaken.
Very correct. You're very correct.
Yeah, he makes these, and the one that I bought is still a banger. Anytime I wear it, people love it, and so yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. If you want to get to Collins, in terms of if you like what he's wearing and you want to connect with him, you can reach out to the Progressive Minds. We'll pass on his information, and if he wants to pass his information too, he can do that. But yeah, please go ahead with your final words for this evening. there's a question. Actually, there's a question quickly for I think Collins or maybe Dr. Yao can respond. He says, this is from Ineka. She says, spell the name of the bank in Egypt. That is the bank for I don't know if Dr. Yao. I mean, sorry, Yao.
Okay, it's Afcfta Bank.
Afrexim Bank.
Okay, Afrexim.
Africa Export Import Bank.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Simple short, Afrexim Bank.
Okay, great.
So it's AFRINEXM Bank. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
My last one, I thank you for the show and thank you for inviting us. It's great. And thank you to Dr. Barrow and then Collins. My point is that African Continental Free Trade should be defined as the world creation for all Africans. It is the industrialization plan and project for Africa. And it is also the integration of the sixth region. Africa, diaspora should not be defined in terms of race and color, but I want to see diaspora defined in terms of any territory outside Africa. If you want to participate, you can come to the secretariat or you can call any of us to give you more explanation on how the implementation is going to be. And also, if you're a woman and you're interested to be part of the Women of Africa network that is looking to push for the agenda of women inclusion as part of the protocol, you can contact us. We will make sure that this agreement will not be one of those talk shows. Thank you very much.
Thank you to my great panelists. As always, they don't fail. They do their best. They take time off their busy schedule. They come on here and they help dive into issues that pertains to all of us. A few more comments and we shall wrap up completely. And this is from Dr. Wale again. She says, thank you, Dr. Alinko. Great conversation. Dr. Yao, Yao. Okay. Just like I've been calling you doctor, somebody also decides to call me doctor. I have accepted mine, so please accept yours too. I beg. Portia says, thanks to you all. Thank you, Dr. Portia, for being part of the show. And she says, Nigeria should never be stigmatized as the worst. Thanks, Mr. Collins, for clarifying that. Okay, he just wanted to make a clarification to his point. Okay, I think we got this point out already. I think I was missing one here. I think there's one that I wanted to get out so that that's being successful. Okay, she said, Dr. Portia says, it has been the successful method of the enemy, divide and conquer. By my parents and grandparents learned that during slavery, we have to unite righteously and conquer. Yeah. Do you think that can happen within the next 2 years? Will the minds of young people be positively redirected? Sorry for butchering your comment, Dr. Portia, but it's been 2 long hours trying to deal with Dr. Barrow and Collins and Yao, and I'm tired already. So I'm tired. I'm just joking. Portia, thanks for your comment. We have a last one. She made a very brilliant point about Nigerians, and I want to read that out. Absolutely, you have to dispel the rumor not to trust Nigerians and how to do business safely in Africa as part of the diaspora. Thank you, and I wanted to really make sure that we got that out. And then Tuomsen Shekpon says, great conversation. I hope I got the name right. And then she said, founded Afrexim Bank. Thank you. And Johnny Wu says, I like Collins' outfit, Alinko. I will get in touch for info. All right, Collins, just remember that my discount, you have to, after you know already now. Okay.
I don't really get you when I'm coming.
Sorry?
I'll definitely get you when I'm coming. So.
Oh no, yeah, for sure. That one, there's no 2 ways about it. You can't do nothing about it. If people want to get more information about AFFTA Policy Network, they can go on their website. It's that simple. You Google AFCFTA Policy Network. You see his picture. You see his board of directors. All of that powerful organization. I looked into it. Solid. If of course you want to get with the Global Chamber of Commerce, they are also online. Dr. Barrow is the founder. And I just can't thank you all enough for being part of the show, for making it worthwhile your time, worthwhile the conversation today, which is AFFTA. The global village and doing business in Africa has been a theme for this evening, and we so much appreciate you. To God be the glory. Remember that to whom much is given, much is required. Collins, Dr. Barrow, y'all have a good night. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.